Hey guys, welcome back to another video. We've got another what's for dinner for you today. I have 3 really easy but very delicious recipes once again to share with you. And so yeah, let's just get right into it. All right, so we're gonna get started with this Crockpot meal. I'm getting it started quite a bit later than I was planning on, but it's only supposed to take 3 to 5 hours. So we'll see. I might have to kick it up to high at some point. Anyways, we are going to start with some diced tomatoes. Now all I have is a 28-ounce can and it only calls for 14. So I'm gonna try to do half of this, but I'm gonna use a spoon here so that I don't just dump all of the liquid out. And this does call for diced tomatoes with Italian herbs. So we're gonna add in some Italian seasoning in just a minute. And then 3/4 cup of pasta sauce. Now, or tomato-based pasta sauce. I did not want to open up a jar of this tomato sauce or pasta sauce I use. So I'm going to use this tomato sauce. Once again, sorry, the lighting, can you see that? So this is not actually pasta sauce, it's just tomato sauce, which means it's not going to have as much seasoning. So we are going to make up for that with some seasonings here in just a minute. So I just wanted to mention that. All right, so we got that in. So now we've got to add 3/4 cup of evaporated milk or heavy cream. I am going to use evaporated milk. I'm gonna have to figure out something to do with the rest of the tomato sauce, diced tomato, and evaporated milk. And I kind of just made a mess, but we're gonna, well, you guys can't really see that on camera, so we're gonna pretend it didn't happen. And then the recipe says to mix in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to the milk. The lighting is awful. Hang on, see if that angle helps with the lighting. So it says add in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I don't have cornstarch. I think flour will work just fine, but I'm going to double it because, can you see that? Sorry. Guys, I thought I had this all set up ready to go, but I'm struggling a little and this lighting is something awful. Anyways, with flour, you usually need, I think, twice as much as the cornstarch. So hopefully that works. We're gonna mix this together. Actually gonna use my little whisk here to try to really work out all those lumps. I think I forgot to tell you what we were making here. We're gonna make a creamy tomato basil chicken. All right, that looks, oh, maybe not. Let me stir that a little more. Gonna add that to the crock pot. Grab this little whisk, or this little spatula. We're gonna add in 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. I know this is not a measuring teaspoon, but I don't mind if we have a little extra garlic, so I'm just gonna do that. And then the recipe calls for salt and dried basil. I'm going to do some Italian seasoning, some onion powder, garlic powder, and salt, just because, like I said, the diced tomatoes I used are just plain, and the tomato sauce is not pasta sauce. It doesn't have any of those nice herbs. So we're gonna go ahead and season this up. We're gonna add in some onion powder here. I did read the reviews on this and it was really good, but definitely some people had problems with flavoring if they used a not well flavored sauce. So I am going to just make sure we're making up for that. And I will have that original recipe linked below. We're gonna give this all a nice good mix here. And then I'm gonna get my chicken breasts and put them in the sauce. All right, so it's kind of hard to see, but I put 4 chicken breasts. Well, actually it was 2 chicken breasts, but they were really thick. So I sliced them in half and just covered them in the sauce. We're gonna put this lid on, put it on low. Like I said, 3 to 5 hours. I don't have a ton of time, but I may have to bump it up to high at some point, but I gotta find out when we're eating dinner. I haven't heard from my husband yet to know when he'll be home. So we're just gonna go with this for now, and I'll check in with you shortly. So my chicken ended up cooking for about 3 hours, which was perfect for me. And I wanted to serve mine over some pasta. You could also serve it over rice or mashed potatoes, whatever you wanted, I guess. But I just cooked up a pound of pasta. Now this whole meal together served us quite well. It served us for a couple of meals, but it's just the 2 of us eating it. So that tends to happen with dishes like this. I mixed in just a little bit of butter to keep the noodles from sticking and for a little added flavor. Topped a bed of noodles with this chicken and yummy sauce and a little bit of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. This dinner was absolutely delicious. I highly recommend it. All right, so I've got a really super recipe today. It's not even hardly a recipe, but I've got 1 large chicken breast. Obviously adjust for how many are in your family. And we are going to sprinkle with salt, onion powder, and garlic powder. And then we're gonna top this with some barbecue sauce. And we're gonna let this cook on low for probably, I don't know, 5 to 7 hours. See what I can get out of this barbecue sauce, and then I'll open a new one. I'm getting it all over me. This is the barbecue sauce that I like to use. And this isn't necessarily a novel idea for a dinner, but I got the idea, or was reminded of the idea, from watching Jessica O'Donoghue. If you've not checked her out, I don't know how that's possible, but you should, and I will link her video below. But we're gonna make some barbecue chicken nachos. So we're just gonna let this do its thing for the next few hours. Put it on low and we'll come back to it later. All right, I'm adding something else. I don't remember if Jessica did this or not, or if it's just a random idea that popped into my head, but I'm going to add on some, this is my homemade ranch seasoning mix that I make. I didn't invent the recipe, but I don't know where I got it from, but I will try to remember to write it out for you. And honestly, I could have done this instead of the other seasonings if I wanted, but we're gonna add some of that on there because it sounds good, and I love this stuff. So that's what I'm doing. All right, so I think it's been close to 5 hours. I don't honestly remember. Just 1 lonely chicken breast in here, so I don't think it's gonna take much more than that. And so I'm just gonna try to shred it up like this. And that seems to be doing the trick. Shred that baby up. You can also use 2 forks or your mixer, hand mixer. All right, well that does it. I just have to wait till my husband comes home, and then we'll actually make up our nachos. We do tend to keep them pretty simple, but I will share that with you shortly. Just like that. That was maybe 30 seconds of shredding that meat. So my husband is the nacho assembler in our house, so he's just mixing in a little bit more barbecue sauce in with the chicken. We've got a cookie sheet lined with foil that's been sprayed, and our favorite blue corn tortilla chips from Aldi, and he's just going to add on some chicken. Actually, we just used that whole one, and some cheese, and we like to just do whatever we like hot we put on first. So we're going to take this pan, put it in the oven at 400 degrees for usually about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less. I think we took it out a little bit early on this night, and then we top it with whatever cold items we like. For the barbecue chicken nachos, I kept mine a little bit simpler, and I just did a lettuce and tomato, and we add some more barbecue sauce. My husband added, he has a little bit more tomato than I do, and he topped his side with a little bit of ranch as well. And we eat right off the pan, so cleanup is super easy. It's a win-win all the way around, and every time we have nachos, every time, we're like, this is so good, we should do this more often. Okay, so for this last recipe, we are going to be having a broccoli and chicken casserole, I think is what it's called. But I've got 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of olive oil heating up in a pan. And then I have about 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast that I have cut up into bite-sized pieces. And we are going to saute that and get that cooking. Now, this recipe is actually a keto recipe. I did not pick it because of that. We don't eat keto. But we eat good food, and this recipe looked good. So that's kind of how we made the decision. And I'm going to add in some garlic cloves and some minced onion, about 1 tablespoon of dried minced onion, and then some salt. And if you're new here, I don't think I've said it yet in this video, I don't cook with pepper because I don't really care for pepper. But obviously, you're going to salt and pepper to taste on pretty much everything, right? And now I'm adding in thyme. The recipe called for tarragon, which I don't have. I've never actually cooked with tarragon. So I decided to use thyme. And then I've got 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. Now, I'm not following this recipe exactly. This recipe also calls for a can of sliced mushrooms. Not only do I not have any of those on hand, I don't like them. But I'm adding in here a cup of chicken broth and 1/3 cup of sour cream. I'm going to add a good amount of salt here, I think, in a second. My chicken broth is homemade, and I don't ever add salt in it when I make it. So I knew that I wanted some extra because of that. And then the recipe calls for 1/2 cup. Before I get to that, I'm also adding in about 1/2 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. The recipe also called for some white cooking wine or lemon juice, and I did not have either, but I was reading through the comments and basically some people were saying they had too much liquid. So I figured I just did the chicken broth and I eliminated the other stuff, but I did add a drop of lemon essential oil just for fun, and I did add a very nice subtle lemon. So we're going to let that cook. The chicken was already cooked at this point, but we're going to try to let that sauce, thicken up, let it cook for about 10 minutes. Now, I wanted to do mine with some rice cauliflower, and I thought, I think I can just do this in the pan. It worked out okay. The only problem was I used frozen broccoli and this frozen rice cauliflower, which was a little bit clumpy. I tried to break it up in the bag, and then I tried to use a wooden spoon, and I said, forget it, my hands are clean, I'm using my hands. The only problem with this is that it did add a little bit of liquid to the baking dish afterwards, because I think it was because of the frozen stuff. I did bake it with no foil on it, just because I knew there would be some extra liquid. Anyway, so maybe I would partially cook them a little bit first. I did let them thaw on the counter while I was cooking everything else, but I think there was still a lot of liquid from them. So that would be my suggestion. But anyways, I've got some rice cauliflower. The other thing is I think my husband said he would have liked more rice cauliflower or maybe make it on the side. So I was trying to make it a one-pan thing, just telling you my adaptions. So I have the rice cauliflower and some broccoli, and then we're letting this simmer. You do want to stir this pretty often, just to make sure nothing's sticking, and letting that thicken up. And then we're going to take that and pour that over our broccoli and rice cauliflower. Bake that in the oven for about at 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes, and that is it. This was so good. Like I said, if you want to see the exact recipe, the original one, you can check out the link in the description box. But this was so good and very flavorful. I would make it again. Like I said, maybe I do the rice cauliflower separately, or you could just serve it over rice. That would totally be fine as well. All right, well, that's going to do it for today's video. If you liked it, once again, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit that like button, and subscribe before you leave if you have not yet done so already. I'll be sharing more fun recipes, of course, as usual, and Fall Food Friday is coming up soon as well, so make sure you're subscribed for that, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.